the A&M side of Saturday night. We've heard from Arkansas fans. How is that bizarre ending playing in your world?
Well, I think they're calling it the Oink Doink, Paul. The ball hitting the upright and falling back into play. I've interviewed several A&M players that they were just like you and I were, and all the fans in attendance trying to figure out, was that good or not? You know, you had players debating whether or not they were supposed to celebrate right there. Paul, you know this. We've talked about this. That is a wild rivalry. A lot of people want it on campus. I get it. But, man, it has been a fun, wild rivalry at Jerry World. And this one probably took the cake. 14-0. A&M comes back, appears to seize control. Arkansas battles back. They're positioned for the win. And the field goal literally hits off the top of the upright. So as wild one as there was in a game that A&M had to win. We've said that about the last two after App State, and give them credit because they sure didn't look like a team ready to go beat number 13 and number 10, and they've done that back-to-back. More specifically, this one. This is a really good, tough Arkansas team that was going to test you physically and mentally. And A&M didn't play very well. They still haven't, I don't think, played a great game. But they've somehow figured out how to win the last two, and that's to be commended.
Yeah, and I think with the Miami loss and had the Aggies lost, it would have just compounded where is this team, which I'm going to ask you anyway. Anaya Smith out. Give us what that means and how does the offense, which is already staggering, overcome a blow like that?
That's a devastating blow. There's no two ways around it. Not only in what a player he was, Paul, and I think they could actually replace those catches and that production yardage-wise easier than they can what he means to the football team. He's a punt returner. He can line up in the backfield. He can take the ball as a runner. He and Anais and A-Chain in the backfield give you a lot of matchup problems to create if you're Jimbo Fisher. And he's kind of just the tough guy of that team. He's the heart and soul, I think, of that offense and really helps the younger receivers. So in those areas, I think he's more irreplaceable than anything. But the way to do it is it's time for Evan Stewart. You know, he scored his first touchdown last week. He's an outstanding receiver. Donovan Green, the tight end, maybe he has to start getting more catches. We saw him kind of have a breakout, another high 4 or 5-star freshman there at tight end. I think more than anything else, though, Paul, what A&M's got to do is continue this upward trajectory that we've seen in terms of running the football and the offensive line improving. They've got to ride Devon A-Chain. That's going to open things up for Max Johnson and those receivers I talked about in the play action passing down the field. Because, look, the reality is while the running game has improved significantly each of the last 2 weeks, offensively they're having a hard time scoring more than 2 touchdowns in this game. And this dates back to last season. And you know as well as I do, that's not going to cut it, you know, in the long run. It might cut it Saturday night. It might even cut it in Starkville. You know, A&M held that Mississippi State team with Will Rogers last year to 26. It's not going to last long, and the Aggie offense has got to produce more points, and they've got to do it without one of their 2 best players.
Talking to Billy Liucci, let's talk about this weekend because, you know, Mississippi State is a mystery team as well, and we know what happened a year ago, but that was a completely different situation. That team was skidding after the Arkansas loss with Alabama ahead, and you take us back to what that loss meant, and obviously the Aggies were able to recover, but what do you see this week?
I thought that loss last year was and I know they lost their last 2, Ole Miss and LSU. Those were 4-quarter, 55, 59-minute games there respectively. Mississippi State, to me, was where that team kind of bottomed out and hunkered down and said, look, it's either that's it or we go up from here, and then they came back and beat Bama. I think that moment for this team better have been, and I think it was. I think it was App State. They're going on the road for the first time this year. That's it. It's veteran, a Mississippi State team, as you're going to find in the SEC. And I interviewed 2 guys yesterday that are 17 years old that played on that Aggie defense against Arkansas. and all their fifth-year linemen. 2D linemen are still 17. I think 4 of them that played are 17 or 18. They're just going to have to go and kind of grit it and will it out like they did against Arkansas on Saturday. And that defense has been bend but don't break, and that'll have to continue because you've got to stop. I bet any team that's beaten a Mike Leach team over the years, outside of maybe his first transition year, you beat them by bending and not breaking. You beat them by getting stops in the red zone and forcing field goals. And I think that's going to be A&M's path to victory on the road. And they haven't been great in Starkville. The Aggies haven't. They did win their last time out there. So a very pivotal game for the Aggies. Paul, like, what would you have told me if I would have told you after App State, oh, don't worry, they'll beat Miami, they'll beat Arkansas, and they'll go into Starkville and win? That seemed so improbable then. It seemed laughable, actually. Now that they've got one thing standing between them and a showdown with Alabama that a couple weeks ago we thought was going to be a pretty meaningless, kind of more of a revenge thing for Alabama and Nick Saban than anything else.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.